Welcome to Country Fried Rock, where we talk with musicians to find out what inspires their creativity. Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. I'm Sloan Spencer. This week, we're talking with Austin Lucas, a songwriter originally from Bloomington, Indiana, who now resides in Nashville. We hear about the progression of Lucas's music from his early days with the voice of an angel through nearly ruining his voice by screaming in punk bands, and eventually refining his own adult voice with gritty lyrics and songs that work well both solo and with his amazing band. His brand new record, Stay Reckless, is backed in the studio by another Country Fried Rock alumni band, Glossary, the one that we described as your favorite band's favorite band. Check it out. Austin Lucas, Stay Reckless on Country Fried Rock. My guest today on Country Fried Rock is Austin Lucas with the new record, Stay Reckless. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I think I got to meet you sitting at a bar table in the 5 Spot last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
But it was funny because I'd been following you kind of through the Glossary folks.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had just maybe relocated or something.
Yeah, I'd only been in Nashville for about a month. It's been a year. I'm not fresh off the boat anymore, you know.
You're not new to music at all, though. Tell me how you got into music originally.
Well, I mean, I have a musician father, and almost all my first memories are, musical. So, I mean, I just got into it from birth. I mean, I was literally born into it. There's a lot of folks out there that are like me, more than you think, and maybe not as many as we wish for. My dad's been a working musician and a songwriter for, since the 60s. I just sort of, was lucky to be born into that family. And so from the time I was really little, it was all band practices and festivals and gigs, you know what I mean? And traveling around, listening to music play, or be played, I should say.
What did you first start playing?
My voice. That was the sing box, ever since I was really little. There's actually, I started singing when I was really young. I think I first started trying to sing with my brother when my dad, and they were singing like, in 1814 we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi, and I wanted to get in there. And then I got really obsessed with Gene Autry. The first song I think me and my dad ever performed together was, I'm a cow poking along. I do my living where I please, Yeah, that was, the start of it. And there's a tape of me at 5. Of course, I was singing before that. And I'm just singing, like, Beatles and Beach Boys songs, too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, my mom made it, on a little, this was in the early 80s, and we had, a one speaker with a record button cassette, you know what I mean? And just, shoved that Maxell tape in there and, hit record, and it's just me singing all these songs, as a little kid. My mom made a copy of it and sent it to my grandparents, and so the copy that my mom had, actually, that ended up getting lost, but when my grandparents passed away, when she went to, go through their stuff and figure it out, she found a copy of it.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's still there, in the family archive.
Well, so then you were exposed to a pretty wide variety of music.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's how it is when you have musicians, family members. And there's a lot of people who have really diverse music tastes in general. And I think, especially back then, a lot more people who had more diverse music tastes. But, these days, I think it's gotten a lot more narrow because there's so many bands in any particular genre, that you can kind of be a lot more selective and just listen to one style of music. My parents, they listen to everything. My dad performed everything, too. I mean, he was a working musician. I think maybe his heart was in folk and rock and roll or, bluegrass, but, he played world music and he did anything to pay the bills. That's what you have to do. I mean, he was a carpenter, he was a bartender, and he was a traveling touring musician. And whatever he could do to make ends meet, he would do it.
Country Fried Rock is proud to announce our second compilation to raise funds and awareness for musicians' mental health services. You can help keep music alive. Check it out at countryfriedrock.bandcamp.com. All of the proceeds raised go directly to the model program for community-based mental health services, reaching the musician community of Athens, Georgia. Born of tragedy, but making a difference for people right now. Prevent musician suicide. You know an organization makes a difference when people like this step up to the plate and donate songs. We thank them, and we thank you for your generous contributions to preventing musician suicide. Keep music alive.
Hey, this is Austin Lucas on Country Fried Rock.
So when did this become something that was you and not just part of your family?
I think I was 12 or 13 when I started playing in my first band.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, I'd already been singing in choir and singing opera and stuff like that. Because, my dad and my mom, they both came from really different but really, like, religious extreme backgrounds. And so when they got together, they both had kind of been fleeing their families who had been pretty intense, you know what I mean, in the religious department. So they didn't want to force anything on me, and my dad had learned how to sing in the church and with his family, and he wanted to make sure that I learned, how to sing properly and that I work on that, that skill. So luckily, my parents had moved to Bloomington, Indiana, which is where IU is, and the Jacobs School of Music is this incredible school, and they have a children's choir. So he just shoved me right into that children's choir. Away I went. For 6 years I was in that choir, and we did local concerts and traveled. But when I was 12, I got really into punk music. I remember, I walked in on the first day of choir practice, and my mom had told me for years and years and years that I could quit when I was 12. And so I was 12. I walked in with a Ramones T-shirt and a pair of jeans that I'd scissor cut holes in the knees, and I just walked in there and told my conductor I'm done. And there was years of pent up anger from missing Saturday morning cartoons. You know what I mean? To be at choir rehearsal. You know what I mean? That I had saved up that still meant something to me when I was 12. I was like, this is what you get for making me miss Scooby-Doo, whatever. So I just walked out and I felt real triumphant. And then I started a punk band. That band was really cool. We had a great name. We were called Lost Souls.
Excellent.
It was really, a very well thought out, sweet name. And we were really young. I think that I was 13 before that band really got off the ground. And, our guitar player was 11. And our bass player was 14. And our drummer was 16. And he drove us to gigs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So y'all were playing out?
Oh, yeah, man. We were gigging big, We were playing, the finest basements around Bloomington. And,
exactly.
And there was an all-ages venue there called Rhinos that I helped to open when I was young. Still there. We played there, and even the first time I played in a bar was with that band.
So were you all going with the punk ethos and writing your own stuff, or were you covering up?
Oh, yeah, it's all our own stuff. I mean, at that point, our skill set was not even good enough to cover anybody. And if your skill set is low enough that you can't cover any other punk bands, you're really not doing so hot. So yeah, it wasn't until not my next band, but the one after that I think I got up to the point where I was playing well enough to cover anybody. Yeah.
But so at least one of the main benefits of having that formal training in the background is you were probably able to protect your voice through all of that.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Really?
No, I ruined it. And
oh no.
It wasn't until I was 21 when I really realized how much damage I had done or started to care about it at all. The thing that happened was that my sister and we grew up singing together. We used to sing this murder ballad called The Cruel Brothers, which is actually on my first record. And we had always sang that together for years and years. My dad taught it to us in the car, you know what I mean? Driving, in the middle of winter, in the dead of night. You know what I mean? And we'd already be scared because snowing would be coming down. The snow would be coming down, and, and he'd just, being a really sweet, awesome father that he is, he'd sing us these old, Irish murder ballads.
I love it.
and really mess us up even further, But, of course, we love them because, kids love ghost stories.
Oh, yeah.
And, so me and my sister, we learned some of them, and one of the songs we sang all the time was The Cruel Brothers, and we were at a party after one of my bands played. She tried to pull me into one of the rooms at the party, and she's trying to tell people, she's you never believe how beautifully Austin sings. He's got this great voice, and, you all think of him as this, crazy, screaming guy, you know what I mean? But just check it out. And she, pulls me into this room, and I'm like, oh, Chloe, I can't do that. And she's like, shut up, you can do it. And so she convinced me to start, and we started in, and my voice was just I couldn't do it at all. And it, broke my heart, and I just, ran out of the room, after, one verse.
Oh, no!
And I made a pact. I was just, with myself. I was like, that's never going to happen again. I need to get to sing again. Because it's the one thing I always had, you know what I mean? All the, friends that I made and when I was young, you know what I mean? It was the only skill that I ever really had. So I started working on it, and I had like a lot of, I would imagine, I never went to the doctor for it, but I had a lot of, I would think, scarring on my vocal cords.
Right.
And so it took me a really long time to get back to it. And so as, time went on, I just became a better singer. And you can hear it on my records because, since I come from a punk ethos, there's no, I need to get better and then, start putting out records. It's just this is what I can do and this is what I'm doing now and let's just put it out. So there's a document of it, and if you listen to my albums, you can distinctly, very clearly hear my voice as it's getting better and as my control is getting better. It hurts for me to listen to my early records knowing, how flawed my voice was. But I'm really proud, because it's a triumph, how much I was able to bring back. Never be able to have the range and sing the way that I could when I was a little kid. I could have if I had, kept on singing like a normal person. But I really was able to bring it back from the dark, and that's something that I'm intensely proud of. In some ways I'm happy because, my father has an incredible voice, and, when he was young, he could sing like crazy, but his voice was always higher than mine, and I sing a lot like my dad did when he was young. All of his fans, that knew him in the 60s and 70s that had come and see me play, they'll always say man, you sound so much like your dad, but your voice is deeper. And so in some ways it benefited me because I have a little bit of a lower register that he doesn't have. Mm-hmm. I mean, he does now because he's, older. Mm-hmm. But, at my age, I could hit some notes that are lower that he wasn't able to hit, mm-hmm. which is, cool. And also the timbre of my voice is just a little bit more ragged.
Never miss a radio show from Country Fried Rock. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock.
Hi, my name is Austin Lucas. My new record is called Stay Reckless, and you can find it on my website at austinlucasmusic.com or in your local indie record store.
Well, so then you mentioned a little bit about your previous records and stuff. You are also comfortable with changing the sounds of the songs that you're writing as well over time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I guess a natural evolution would be a better way to put that.
I mean, I think that's the right way to put it, but I don't think that there's ever such a thing as an unnatural. There are some things, but for the most part, I think that singer-songwriters, the best thing about being a singer-songwriter, and I've said this before, is that you are pretty much allowed to do whatever you feel like doing. The only boss is you. In bands, when you have a lot of bands, or when you have a band, you have a lot of different influences, which is great, you know what I mean? But you have to sort of be beholden to what other people are interested in playing. If you're in a band, as a singer-songwriter, you only have to pay attention to your own influences and where your heart tells you to go. Mm-hmm. And if you're somebody like me, I don't really ever sit down and go, I'm going to write this type of record. I just start to write, and the batch of songs that comes out becomes the batch of songs for the record. But, as, time goes on, I start writing different kinds of songs because, I'm listening to different records. And that's a thing that I think a lot of fans don't ever get that. We're music fans, too. And so they're like, oh, their stuff is different, I don't like it. And, that's fine. But what you're saying is that you don't like me listening to different kinds of records and pulling from those things when I'm writing. It's I don't like that this person's a music fan, too. Why don't they just listen to their records and make that record over and over again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's just the most ludicrous thing in the whole world because, in some ways, people want to take the music fan out of the musician. And if you do that, what kind of art are you creating? There are bands out there that make the same record over and over again. I guess that some people really appreciate that, but I can't imagine who. And I certainly don't have any interest in that. None of my favorite artists have put out the same record twice.
Yeah. Not that you're intentionally modeling another band that has gone through changes, but by hearing those other things, it brings out different aspects of what you're doing as well.
Exactly. Because it's a filter, because a human being is a filter, And so, I'm a musical filter, so I take in influences and I just put them out there in the way that I see them. And that's actually why music has been able to grow and evolve and change, over the years. People always talk about how there's, golden eras of music and if things haven't gotten any better, or, they hate these things, but then people always still like certain artists or whatever. Those artists are always artists that are filtering a lot of different influences and putting them out there. I think that in a lot of ways we have subjective music memory because we only remember the really good stuff.
Yes.
There are so many pop artists that were terrible and country artists who were terrible for the last however, many decades, and we don't remember them because they didn't stand out.
And, of course, most of those people that we don't remember were much more wildly successful than any of the people that we all remember and love. You know, those people who are really great, they just over time built a dynasty because they made fans every time somebody heard their record. You know, whereas a lot of other people, they made fans in an explosion as like their records were coming out. Mm-hmm. But people got tired of their songs because they really weren't very good, and they were easy to sing along to. They were catchy, but over time those things fade away. If you think that Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin were the biggest bands in the world when they were out, you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we just remember them as being the biggest bands because they became the biggest band.
What was the chronology? What came first? How was that happening?
Well, I mean, like, I started writing the record. I guess I always wait a while to start writing a new record till, you know, it's done recorded and it's done being out. Wait for the dust to settle. I don't like to write the same record twice, and I want to be listening to new stuff. So started writing it right around the end of 2011, and that was an interesting time because the cracks in my marriage were really starting to form or become more and more present. We were like leaking plaster at an epic rate, like out of those cracks. So by the time like I really kicked into full gear, the spring of 2012, which is when, you know, we were separating. So by that time, basically, I was just in the middle of writing. Because, of course, what do you do when you're an artist and you're in a massive amount of upheaval and you need to get things off of your chest and channel them into something? You always make art, and that's always how it's been for me, and I know that it's like that for most everybody else. So that's really, like, what happened, and I'd already done a few demos with Glossary because we had agreed that we were going to do the record together at the end of 2011. We knew that, you know, within the next year we were going to go and record it. So I just kept on writing, as you do, you know, kept bringing songs back to them, sort of slowly evolved, became the record that it did as the songs came in. Honestly, when we went into the studio, there were like 2 songs that I'd written right before, you know what I mean, that they had never heard. And I'm in there going, you know, in the studio being like, okay, so this is the song we're going to record. And they were just like, I thought we were going to record this song and this song. And I was like, nope, not anymore. Those songs are getting the axe. And so, I mean, I'm definitely more of a feel it and go with it sort of a guy. You know, I definitely will tell people if they aren't playing something that I like. I definitely, like, told them, hey, you know, this is the direction I want to go with this song. You know what I mean? Here, I want you to solo here. You know, this is the type of solo that I want you to try and do. You know what I mean? The track Let Me In, you know, Joey takes a solo and the musical break there, and I was like, think Dinosaur Jr. Think Jay Mascis, do your best Jay Mascis. And, of course, he did his best Jay Mascis. I mean, he's been aping him for years, so it wasn't hard. Yeah.
I love them. That's funny.
Yeah.
Recorded at their place?
Well, we recorded it with Mark Nevers at Beach House. Yeah, we recorded demos in their practice space and brought in an outside engineer. But when we actually went to do the record, we went to the Beach House, recorded with Mark Nevers. And, yeah, he's a great guy. You know, he's worked with Kaylin Rose and Jason Isbell, and he's worked with Charlie Louvin. And, you know, he even engineered all the seminal Alan Jackson tracks, you know, like, and he's just like an old punk dude that's been around and worked on Music Row, which is exactly the type of dude that I wanted on the record. You know, like, I was like, if there's anybody that I want producing this album, like somebody who knows country music and knows punk.
At what point then did you end up relocating within that creative process?
I relocated to Nashville in August. So we started separating in beginning of June, and maybe started before that. It definitely did, but the officialness was in June, and I had actually planned on taking off the whole summer so that I could stay at home and be in Bloomington for the summer, because at the time I was back in Bloomington, Indiana. I never get to spend summers there. Love it there because the students are all gone. You get the town to yourself. You can go swimming in quarries and, you know, like ride your bike around and just hang out and drink outside, you know, go fishing and do all the things that somebody likes to do living in a small town, you know, because Bloomington, you know, really is a small town, but we don't really get to experience it as a small town all the time because there's like 50,000 students that flood our town every year. And the summertime is the only time, the summertime and winter break. You know, like those are pretty much the only times where we like get our town to ourselves. And I generally get to be there on winter break, but not during the summer when it's really, really nice. Plan on being off at that time, and we started breaking up, and so I just really quickly booked a bunch of shows. I like got on the internet and I was like, hey, who wants to have me? And instead of book a tour, like normally I play every day almost, you know, with a few days off. And this one was, you know what, I'm going to go to Austin and I'm going to hang out and play a show, and then I'm going to hang out there for 3 days.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go to Houston, I'll play a show, hang out for a couple days, I'll go to Baton Rouge, I'll go to New Orleans, and, do the same thing everywhere. So I could just relax and spend time with my friends that live in those cities and make enough money that I can be there. That's really what I did. But I knew that come August, I was going to head to Nashville. That was actually where we were supposed to move before we split up. I actually was comfortable in Bloomington and wanted to stay there, but she didn't like it there. So she knew that Nashville would be good for my career. She convinced me to move to Nashville to get me out of Bloomington. At any rate, when we split up, I just figured, you know what, I've been planning on doing this now for the last 6-8 months. Finally gotten comfortable with it and realized that I was leaving my home. I might as well take this opportunity and go check it out. And because I've been talking about moving to Nashville for, since 2006 at least, and never did. So I finally said, you know what, I'll give it a year. And if I love it, I'll stay. And if I don't, I'll just move back to Bloomington, and I'll just be back where I was, where I want to be, and that's fine. But, it's been a year, and I just, every day I've become more in love with that city. I love it. It's an amazing, amazing town. I can't believe how amazing it is. And, people, they always ask me when I say, I'm living in Nashville, and there's always one or two things happen. They either say this, they say, oh, how is that? Or they say, oh, how's that? And so inside the consciousness of every American, they already have this idea of what Nashville is, and it's either positive or negative, and they've already made up their mind, and they expect you to immediately say the thing that they are expecting. So I always get one of two responses after I tell them what I think, and I'm always saying, oh, it's amazing. You know what I mean? And it's always I know, it's great, I love it, I want to move there too. Or it's really? It's great? Really? You love it there? Wait, what? So, yeah, but I do. I'm just I'm crazy about that city.
Did you know you can download each podcast for free? Just scroll down to the bottom of the page on countryfriedrock.org.
Hey, this is Austin Lucas. You can find me at www.austinlucasmusic.com.
So creatively, what's it like for you to be surrounded by other people that they are making their livings making art as well?
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Everyone's really nice, too. Inspiring. You, walk out and you go to a bar and you see somebody absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? Last month I went and I saw Jason Isbell sing Tom T. Hall, for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's you just, walk out and, you know what I mean? And you get these just, incredible experiences. You get to see, all these, awesome people who are doing the thing that they love. It's inspiring. And you can go downtown and, a lot of people hate Lower Broadway, but I personally, I think of Lower Broadway as Layla's and Roberts, and Full Moon Saloon. Those are pretty much the places, that I think of. So I go down there and I get inspired. Of course I walk past, the folks who are playing whatever is current on Nashville radio that I either like or don't like, because every once in a while there are definitely always songs that are good. I just don't really think about it too much, and I think more about the places that are still there that are still incredible, that I'm going to see music that I love. And then I walk into Roberts, and I just get my mind blown. And to me, that's what matters.
Has there been anyone in particular that was a new-to-you surprise in a good way?
I got to be honest with you. There's this woman, I don't remember her name, and I saw her play at the 5 Spot. And it was actually the same day that I saw Jason Isbell sing Ravishing Ruby. She owns a restaurant that's right there in 5 Points. She sings. She's just got this great, big, amazing, incredible voice, and I think she's got to be 5'2" or something like that. She might be a little bit taller than that. I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't go up and measure her, but she's just this incredible voice. I wish I could tell you what her name is right now. I'm the worst about that. I'm notoriously really, really bad about remembering people's names. It's bad. I don't know if, I'm just, so self-absorbed that I do that, or that I meet so many people that, everyone looks like somebody else. You meet thousands of people every year. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, similar fashion, over time, it gets to be, it blends.
So you mentioned that you were working with Glossary and that y'all were collaborating in the process and going to the beach house to record that. What's been happening for you with getting the music out to people?
I'm doing it the good old-fashioned way, and I'm just pounding the pavement. That's the only thing that I've ever really known how to do.
Are there particular towns or places that work well for you?
Yeah, there are definitely towns and places that work well for me, and there are definitely towns and places that don't work well for me. And, I just keep on trying in all of them. And you hope that it gets better in the towns that it's going well, and you hope that it gets better in the towns that it's not going well, too. Me having a bad show someplace
definitely doesn't scare me away. It definitely makes me a little bit wary. I'm always like, well, you guys, like this is, last time it wasn't very good, so, we'll see what happens this time. There are places where, like, over time, it's just gotten progressively better. There are places that from the first time I played there, it was just, like, immediate. And there are places that were really good for a while and then aren't good at that anymore. I don't know why that is. There's no way of understanding. And there's no formula. I don't know who has the formula, but if somebody does have the formula and you find out that they could pass it on.
Do you try to do all of it just you on the bill, or do you try to partner up for bills in certain places?
I mean, I like going on tour. I like packaging up. Right now we're on tour with John Moreland. In October we'll be on tour with Lee Baines 3 and the Glory Fires.
Yeah.
So, that's really the thing that we like to do is get out there with people that we love, bring as quality of a show to people as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's really the thing that I like to do. If I'm going to put together a tour where, I'm either headlining or co-headlining, I'm always trying to make sure that it's with somebody who is really worthwhile. And I know that my fans will, take to and potentially like more than me.
Who would you like to take on the road with you that you either haven't been able to or haven't done in a while?
I miss touring with my buddy Mike Hale, but he doesn't really tour anymore. I always really wanted to take Josh Small on tour with me. He's from Richmond, Virginia. He's kind of known for being the sideman of Tim Barry. He always plays guitar with him. But he's an incredible songwriter, and he's also, really, really fun to be out with.
That's
I mean,
nice.
right now I'm on tour with John Moreland, and, I would say that I, wish I could take him with me for more dates. But he's got other stuff to do, and, I think that he's incredible. Personally, I think that he may be the best songwriter that I know, and I think that if he's the best songwriter that I know, that puts him in contention for the best living songwriter. I think that pretty much anybody who's listened to him would agree with you. And I think that any songwriter who's listened to him would agree with you. I don't know a single songwriter that is not just absolutely enamored with what he does, that isn't just, crazy about him. So anybody who's listening, you need to go check out John Moreland in the Throes on Last Chance Records. We've got a split 7-inch coming out with John Moreland that should be out pretty soon. Just a lot of tour dates. Right now we only have up to the West Coast posted and coming back from that run, but there's going to be more. And so if you live in the Midwest and you live on the East Coast, just be sure that we'll be coming to you before the end of the year.
Cool. Real quick, tell me about this split 7-inch.
Oh, well, me and John, I was approached by a record label out of New York, and they're putting out a series of records that have artists splits with artists and baseball cards made of the artists.
Cool.
So it's a picture of you playing live, you know what I mean? That's made like a baseball card. And so it immediately intrigued me because I've always wanted to be on a baseball card.
Absolutely.
Since I was a little kid. And, he asked me who I wanted to do it with, and I told him that if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it with John Moreland. He was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I just signed with New West. I don't know if I can or not. Initially, I said, absolutely, I'd love to do this, but you're going to have to wait a second. And finally, we got okay to do it, and so we just went immediately and, sent in the stuff.
Well, good. Safe travels, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for this interview. I do appreciate it.
Take care, Austin. Thanks. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. Find our full playlist at countryfriedrock.org. You can subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock. Our theme music is from The Heap. Check them out at heapdeluxe.com. That's HEAPDELUXE. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock. Copyright 2013 by Lily Pad Productions. All rights reserved. Country Fried Rock is a partnership with the nonprofit Florence Regional Arts Alliance. Your donations to this program are tax-deductible to the extent you are eligible under U.S. law. Country Fried Rock radio programs are distributed to public radio through the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org.
Ever he been helping us some country fried